Welcome to Raising the Barber. Today's podcast we have Lee Mullins, the owner of Workshop Gymnasium. These gyms are luxury gyms based in Bulgaria hotels, and he's going to tell us how he started, the way he made it, and especially what's his lifestyle, his idea on fitness. So stick with us and let's go.
Yo, listen to this, it's Raising the Barber, hot dip, talk shop, no ribbon.
All good, man, all good.
That's great.
Rushing around.
Fresh as always.
Always, story of my life.
So what do we do? How can I help you today?
Same as usual. So you can only do with what you're working with, so I know it's not the best that you're ever going to be dealing with. But just what we normally do.
Yeah, so we lately...
A little bit longer on the top.
Yep. To push everything on the side a bit.
Yeah.
And then we're going to work on 1.5 into 2.
Yeah. What do you normally do? 1.5?
Yeah. Would you like to go any shorter today?
No, I think what you normally do is good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, sweet.
You don't feel the summer heat?
No, one. Is it 1 you normally do or 1.5?
Yeah, would you like 1.5 here, probably on the bottom, just to clean up?
Perfect.
Yeah?
Done.
That's great.
How's your day been? Or your days, weeks?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. Working on the side a lot, and work is always, thank God it's all good. It's all good. Try to keep up with working out.
Yeah?
So
Have you been?
Yeah, I'm going to the gym quite often now.
Jiu-jitsu or gym?
Jiu-jitsu and gym.
Yeah?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu and gym. Because at the end of the day, I think it helps, feel strong enough in jiu-jitsu to have the right, resistance. And, just keep training. Because I think that you need to have a lot of endurance.
In jiu-jitsu?
Oh,
Yeah.
so tiring. Have you ever done any fighting sport?
So box,
All right.
I don't do it, I've not done it competitively. There's actually a really good little boxing gym around here at Dale Youth.
Oh, okay.
When I lived, it was literally around the corner from where we used to live. So I used to go there 3 or 4 times a week. And yeah, done light sparring, controlled sparring.
Okay.
And years ago, did a few jiu-jitsu sessions with a couple of guys I used to work with. They were heavily into it. And it's possibly the most fatiguing sport I've ever done. It's
Crazy.
yeah. It's just one of those ones now, you hear so much. It's not a sport you kind of get out of it without any kind of injuries. You're always picking up some neck stuff or knees, and it's just I like my neck and knees. I don't need that in my life. But it also seems to be one of those really addictive sports where
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue, because I started fighting because of training, because I didn't want to get injured. And then I got injured because of that, because I was like, oh no, I don't want to get a punch in the face. But then you end up, risking your joints for nothing.
Yeah.
And the thing I like the most is literally is full body training.
For sure.
It's unbelievable the way you need to be flexible enough, strong enough.
Endurance.
And also it's everything. Yeah. It's everything together. And then, as you said, it's addictive. It's something when I can't make it, when I can't go, man, I feel bad because, it's a good way to fight.
Yeah.
It's very defensive, and honestly, I think I picked up the best one for the moment.
Yeah. It's also one of those ones it seems it's one you can keep doing for years. So it's not like a sport where, I don't know, you don't see too many kind of 6-year-olds running around a football pitch, but you do see 60-year-olds doing jiu-jitsu. There's masters leagues and things. So
true. As long as you are, as long as you can keep it up, you don't have bad injuries. But I heard crazy stories of fighters who got neck injuries and it kept fighting during the fight. It was something unbelievable. Is culture. Definitely Brazilians brought it in a way that it became literally one of the sports on the spotlight for years and years. Also thanks to UFC. The first fight was actually one of the best fighters was jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter. So honestly, I wish it could be more let's say easier, more accessible to people to fight, because obviously in London prices are like literally unbelievable. But in general, I would say that I started fighting in MMA when I was a kid, and I didn't continue just because I had to move here. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't start back again, because it's literally like you say, you can't do it forever. You can't do it forever. You risk your life every single time. While jiu-jitsu is
more controlled.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you've done in sports back in the time, but now you basically your main job is in fitness, is it?
Yeah, coaching people, operating private training facilities.
Yeah.
It's kind of what my.
How did everything start? Were you doing anything, a different job before?
So I've been a trainer by trade for like, Jesus Christ, like nearly, it's 20 years, I guess. Like I started when I was, 20 years. My gosh.
Wow.
And grew up playing football, played football to a good level. Kind of got injured when I was like 15, 16. That really got me into the gym training. And then, when I realized I wasn't going to be David Beckham, kind of pursued, training as a career, and just always made sense to me, like get paid to stay in shape and stay healthy. And kind of, I'm sure like most people start off in that, getting into that industry because of the aesthetic appeal of like wanting to do it. And like any young, impressionable, like 17, 18-year-old, where all you care about is like abs and biceps. But then, started coaching people when I finished kind of like sixth form college, went to university, carried on coaching people whilst at university, and then came out of there, worked in a few gyms. And then, but like a pivotal point for me was I went and did this course in the US in Arizona. And that was where kind of it opened my eyes to how little I knew.
Really?
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the shittest in the room. I need to up level and upskill. And it was a great thing. So I was only maybe like 22 at the time. And it's just one of those things you see in the industry, and most industries, right? People don't always upskill. They get qualified and then they're out working. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was like, cause then I just kind of just reinvested everything I got in doing more and more courses, and traveled back to the US like 3 or 4 times a year to do courses. And it just, kind of propelled me, my skill set, allowed me to kind of get exposed and meet a tier of coaches that were really kind of at the top of their game. And then also allowed me to get to meet some coaches who in London who had like a private training facility, who then I went and worked for them. And that was kind of where it all started.
So it started like about 20 years ago. Were you based in London? You grew up in London?
No, I grew up just outside London in Surrey. So like 45 minutes outside. Was training people around there for the first few years. Like,
I was training people there. I was training people
to London from where I was training people. I grew up training people firstly in like a proper meathead bodybuilding gym. And it was the least glamorous place on the planet, but it was also an amazing training ground to learn variety in training. Like bodybuilders, like I was never a bodybuilder, it's not my jam, but they know every way to manipulate a muscle.
Wow.
So it was like a great education to give you tools, and that's all you're doing like in any job, right? Is that the more tools you've got in your locker, the more you're going to be prepared for the different challenge or client you're working with.
Absolutely.
And bodybuilders get a bad rap, or it's definitely like, but they know every training variety. I was training people there compared to the ones the facilities I worked at in London. I mean, it was only one other than my own one. So, and that was a very kind of small, bespoke, luxury private training facility. So they couldn't be more contrasting ends of the spectrum. Yeah, grit, sawdust, meathead bodybuilding gym to like uber luxury, nice, but at the same time, both places, there was always a really good training culture, which is what's so key.
That was the key also for you to grow, isn't it?
I mean, it's the key to any training facility. Like, you can all have great equipment, you can all have great coaches, but if the coaches can't create, and clients as well, and the like people in the gym, if there isn't a great training culture and environment, it's never going to be as good as it can be. And I'm sure that translates to jiu-jitsu as well, right? You can have really skilled jiu-jitsu coaches, practitioners, and students, but if the environment's like, I don't know, not competitive, because you want a competitive environment, but if it's not an environment where it's supportive, then it's just
a sick environment, like ill environment, when people don't try, to cooperate together.
Yeah, when it's selfish, when it's a selfish environment, and they're for themselves.
Probably there's a better word for that, but I've been working out in some of these places. Also, when I was fighting before, that's the feeling. You feel like if you don't have the good group around you, it's never going to happen. So I agree with you. You felt like that both places before your own were like the best place to also like have time to grow, to improve, and to learn more. But then you say you went to America.
Yeah.
America was still like a long time ago. Why America then?
Yeah, I had a client I was working with who I'd met when I was on holiday with my family, and it was this German guy. I was in Dubai with my family on vacation. Every morning I was in the gym training, and this guy was in there, and like when you're on holiday, you'd say hello to the same people, same faces you see every morning. And I would have been like, oh my gosh, like maybe like 20 at the time. And I was in much better shape then. Looked like I trained then. And I think it was on like the penultimate day of us leaving. He kind of said, "Oh, what do you do?" I said, "I'm a trainer back in the UK." And he basically approached me to work with him like exclusively for like a month. So I basically went home and he flew me back to Dubai to work with him, put me in like an amazing apartment in this hotel, and it was amazing, incredible setup. And but he had an underactive thyroid, and at the time I didn't know too much about kind of what that was. It was definitely like out of the scope of my work, but having an underactive thyroid can make it really challenging for people to lose body fat and lose weight. That's just one of the many negatives of it. But so I came back after working with this guy, and I was like, okay, I need to get a better understanding of this. And I was at a time where I kind of finished university and needed to do something next, like education wise. And I went online, and at the time there were two like really prominent education providers. There was a guy called Paul Check, who is brilliant and very much more kind of holistic and kind of teaches everything from like gut health to spiritual health and physical health, and is a great education provider. And then there was another guy called Charles Poliquin, who sadly passed away a few years back. And those two at the time were kind of the main kind of cutting edge of like education for coaches. And Charles Poliquin was providing this course, and it was all about how hormones impacted body composition and where you store body fat on the body. Okay. And there was kind of links to like thyroid and cortisol and everything, all the different kind of hormones in the body. And it kind of, the premise of it was, if you stored body fat in certain areas of the body disproportionately to others, it was an indication of your hormonal profile. So are you somebody who is highly stressed and excessive kind of cortisol production? Are you low testosterone? Are you high estrogen? Is your thyroid underactive or overactive? So so that was like music to my ears, because I was literally dealing with the same. I didn't have an understanding of how, at the time, of how hormones, and particularly the thyroid, how that impacted kind of body composition and weight management.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I booked onto it, and it was, like I said, it was probably one of the most pivotal things that ever happened in my career.
Was that going to the thyroid thing? Because, I'm very curious about that. I'm curious about also the shape of the body, the way your body, in a way, stores fat. Is there like a standard measure that you take when you see a person, first client, and you feel like, okay, this guy has this lady has this, because this and that? Or you go like through very attentive analysis of like blood tests and stuff like that? How do you like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because probably,
sure, where do you start?
Yeah, where do you start with that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the more data you got, the better. Blood test is kind of the gold standard, because that'll truly give you a representation of what's going on. It is giving you a snapshot of time of what's going on hormonally, and that can change kind of day to day and week to week. But how we generally start with it in my facilities, because we're not medical, we're not clinical, and if you start to see things with people, particular body shapes, and or they're doing all the work, adhering to like good nutrition principles, sleeping well, and stuff still isn't changing, that's maybe when you'd say, hey, it might be good to go and see what that blood panel is looking like. Let's get a hormonal profile. But with the hormonal stuff, it's a real tricky one. It's not just, okay, what does your blood say, and that's the problem, because like I said, it's just a snapshot of time, and you kind of really need to build up a profile or a picture of somebody's hormonal profile over a period. Because like I said, it can be manipulated by a bad night's sleep or excessive alcohol consumption, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but if you start to see a series of tests and some patterns starting to consistently show up, and listen, I'm not a doctor, but that's just some of the stuff I've kind of picked up over the years.
Obviously, you say you went to America to learn more about also the way to train people on different situation. You said that like hormones is one of the main thing, whether you have low thyroid levels, or also anything else related to any disease. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about a serious disease.
Yeah.
But so America, in a way, you felt like was the best place to go because of these trainers.
Yeah, it was the most prominent. They had the highest profile. There was trainers I was following at the time, and this was pre social stuff. Like this is when, this was people I was reading about in magazines and stuff, and they were kind of certified with these guys, and so they had credibility, and they, like I said, they really are and were pioneers in kind of our industry in terms of developing coaches. And they're some of the qualifications we look for when we open new facilities or bring trainers on. Like if I see anyone who's got their qualifications on their resumes, I'll always kind of straight away take notice, because I'm like, okay, they're going to be thinking along the same lines as kind of how we're
the same language.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's crucial.
Yeah.
In every industry, you need to, if you need to hire anybody, at least you have to know if it's on the same line, on the same tune.
Yeah,
that's true.
And it helps, but that is also, that the skill can be taught. A bigger profile, or a bigger thing, a more important factor is that people are just good with people. Like that's honestly the most important part of our job in coaching people. Like it breaks my heart, but I see so many times like super skilled coaches who have like such amazing resumes but are just useless with people, and like it's hard to get them busy. And I've seen people who maybe don't have the most impressive resumes but be just incredible with people, and then everyone wants to work with them. And it's I'd rather take the latter than the first, because I can teach the skill to the latter. Like it's
So true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And,
Can't teach people to be great with people. Like, you've even got that. Yeah.
But you got to this point where you have your own training gyms.
Yeah.
The thing is, how did you learn? Because you have to. I think on the side you have to learn to be kind with people. To be like, you don't need to have the charm, but you need to be like able to deal with different kind of people.
Yeah.
Especially with those ones who actually they don't really want to train.
Sure.
Some of them, you can tell me. Is everybody so committed during the training, during the workout? Is people like willing to just have a chat and feel like, in a relaxed environment?
Yeah, we get both. I mean, you get everything. Like, and it's part of our job is to try and find people's why as to what's going to motivate them to want to train. Obviously, they come to us and we're at a kind of elevated price point, so they're relatively serious if they are coming to us or invested. And at the same time, you still need to kind of figure out, okay, what's going to... Listen, the reality is most people are going to trainers or gyms for aesthetic reasons initially. Like everyone wants to look better, and that's great. More often than not, that's not the biggest motivator to keep people in and keep them coming. So you have to kind of dig deeper and figure out, okay, what do you really care about? Because you care about that. We all care about that. Everyone wants abs. Everyone wants bigger glutes. Everyone wants all that stuff. We all want to be 6% body fat. Amazing. But you have to kind of pull it out of people as to what's going to keep them in the door. And that's understanding, like getting them to enjoy their training firstly. The biggest challenge we have in the UK, definitely to like the US, is because there's not a big training culture at schools and gym, in schools and growing up. There's a focus on sports, but there's not such a big emphasis on like going to the gym. Versus like in the US, like it's normal for kids to go to the gym, and even in their high schools and stuff, they've got amazing gym facilities. So the difficulty we have here is undoing people's perception that the gym is a place you go to fix a problem, versus the mentality of, especially if you grew up using the gym as a kid, is it's a place to get better. And they're two one's negative, one's positive. And just so much of, not all the time, but like some of the times it's the battle you have, not a battle actually, what I mean, but one of the things we work towards with like clients is, getting them to enjoy their training and it not being this like negative, I'm coming here to fix a problem, whether it be their weight or pain or movement quality or whatever it is actually, no, this is a good thing and you can enjoy it and it's not a chore. So that's the kind of real skill of, I think, what we do. That's great because I believe that, if you join a gym,
as you said, the first thing is like, I want to get better. I want to have bigger legs.
Yeah.
So I train.
Yeah.
I train for bigger legs.
Yeah.
Because I like them. The thing is like how much of yourself you can sacrifice and time to get better and better. And that's one of the points I understood during my, my process, I lost a bit of weight and stuff. I was like, I don't want to do this once and then I relax, I take it easy and I go back to what I was. I want to do this as a lifestyle. I want to get better and better. But it also, going to the gym, eat properly, stick with my, let's say, unwritten rules, and not begging for help in dieting is something that I just took, I'm learning still. And I'm taking it in a very Zen modality, I'm not stressing nothing. Nothing. I believe that most people quit gyms, quit training, because I was one of them, obviously, because you so focused, you literally thinking only about that. At the moment you just miss something, you get lost, so you stop.
Or it's that fuck it mentality when that happens. Fuck it, I'll start.
Yes.
I'll start next week.
Do you have people? Were you able during your career to pick these people back to you to say, listen, I can help you keep going?
Yeah. I mean, that's around. I think people put such high standards and expectations on themselves, and if they don't meet them, then fuck it, I'll start then next week. Or especially around nutrition, that's a massive one that happens all the time. Like, fucked up, so I'll just self-sabotage tonight and then start tomorrow or start next week. And it's, that doesn't need to be the case. I was talking to a client literally about this yesterday, and it was around nutrition and stuff, and how that voice in your head, everyone encounters that, especially if they have they have a meal or a food which they think is bad or not on plan. And then that little voice in your head which says, fuck it, let's start tomorrow. So let's just write today off and go crazy and indulge. Well, actually the net damage in over consuming then of whatever way that is, smashing the pot of ice cream or eating the whole box of Krispy Kremes, whatever it is, because you've had that fuck it mentality in your head. But actually, if you just had a bit of the ice cream or one of the donuts, actually the net cost, the net damage isn't horrendous. So I think, teaching people a better relationship with that kind of stuff is so important, that you can have that stuff in there. Is it great? Not always, but it's also not the end of the world. It's not going to set you back as much as consuming the whole thing. Or, I've literally seen it so many times over the years with that plays out. They've had some, and it's particularly around food. And this is also, sometimes it happens with training. I've missed a workout. So then, okay, I'll start next week. And then they miss a couple, and then they're in this slump. And it's like, listen, it might take them a while to kind of get back into it. But knowing that, missing a workout or two isn't the end of the world. It doesn't mean you then have to kind of take all this time off. And same with food, not having the best food option for what you're trying to achieve doesn't completely scupper your goals, and definitely doesn't mean you then have to go, let's just eat the whole fridge, because there's people that deal with that voice in their head every time that does happen. It's I think looking at what we do and the coaches at work for us do on a day-to-day basis is developing that better relationship around food, and a better relationship around training that's more of an important factor than what they kind of come to us for, whether it be weight loss, muscle gain, strength, size, whatever it is, get smaller, get bigger. The more important thing, which people don't really care about initially, but it's the thing that kind of sticks with them longer, is, okay, I've got a better relationship around nutrition. I'm more educated on nutrition. I can have that, and it doesn't set me off, doesn't ruin my pursuit of whatever I'm here for. And then really kind of trying to get them to love training and figuring out how we can do that. That's the main kind of purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel this, that I understood this after a while. And I agree with you. The relationship with food or with training must be just a new lifestyle, but not forced. I kept saying, and this, I need to thank my fiance for this. She always says to me, don't call it cheat meal.
It's got a negative connotation on it, unfortunately.
What do you think about cheat meal, the idea of the cheat meal? Because myself, I was like, okay, I'm gonna, today I do intermittent fasting every day, and then you're gonna tell me if you like this idea. But when I stopped doing it, I felt like I was cheating. I wasn't just enjoying the food like always.
If you were eating outside of your fasting window, you felt you were cheating. Yeah, and that's one of the negative things of intermittent fasting, is that kind of, and that's not just intermittent fasting, that's any rule around food. If that rule gets broken, then you think you've messed up. So it's like, well, actually, the reality is you probably didn't do any damage. Nothing bad happened, but we put these kind of strict parameters on ourselves. And for any kind of long-term change, you do have to figure out what your parameter is that works really well for you to kind of keep your weight in check, your body fat in check. It's just that parameter needs to be as least restrictive as possible, to the point where it just becomes second nature and you're not really thinking about it. And if you are someone that falls into that, where let's use intermittent fasting as a strategy. If you think, okay, outside of that, I've messed everything up, so then fuck it, I'm just going to eat everything now and then start it tomorrow. That's not a great strategy either. So,
I agree with you.
yeah. But
I agree with you.
It's a tricky one, man, because this is where it's so individualized. Like, you got to try and to say any approach is. Here's the reality: every kind of approach has pros and cons. It's just you got to figure out what's the one which you find least restrictive, easy to adhere to, but also at the same time, what shows long-term positivity on your blood work as well, right? So I could sit here and say intermittent fasting's good, bad, but if your blood work says it's, as a result of it over time, isn't great, then I can't sit here and say it's good. Do you know what I mean?
I understand what you mean.
Same with vegetarianism, same with veganism, same with carnivore, same with paleo.
It's very individual.
100%. And it probably changes as well over time. So it's probably an ever-evolving thing.
I've heard people say, oh man, I'm carnivore, so I eat like the ancestor diet, like, you know, the very wild meat, like wild boar and, you know, reindeer, venison.
Wild game meat.
Yeah, that's it. That's now because, you know, I did my test. This is only this. I believe that you're right in a way, you know, you need to keep changing in order also to, you know, introduce new nutrients to your body. Because sometimes, you know, I feel like I have a lack of something, so I try to introduce you. What's about food, and then we're going to talk about fitness. What's your idea on, 2 questions, on supplements, and what's your idea on ultra processed food in general?
Yeah. My idea, like, do I think they're good or bad? Or is there a place for it? Or
I think there's always a way through. But, you know, what's your point? What do you think is good for your health? What can be like avoidable in a way?
Yeah. So for supplements, I mean, your blood work should drive that, should dictate that. And that's like what we come back to, kind of what we were saying at the beginning, like that's going to be a huge indicator of kind of what's going on. I think there's some like foundational things that work for everyone, depending on where you are and live in the world. But like for here, everyone should more likely be using like vitamin D as a supplement. It should be with vitamin K3 and K2. But yeah, it's safe to say probably if you live in the UK, most people should be supplementing with that.
But is actually working?
100%, yeah. I mean, you got to get the dosing right, and a lot of the dosages they recommend on it are too conservative, depending on how deficient you are. But that's one which is pretty kind of widely accepted now.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, take 2 pills a day. Is it good? No, not really.
Yeah, the instructions on supplements, it's kind of pretty kind of standardized. And it's that's why, like, listen, and those blood tests are inexpensive to figure out where your levels are for that. But that should be what kind of dictates what you should and shouldn't be taking.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
What about ultra-processed food in general?
Yeah, probably, listen, like, you can have it in your diet. You're probably not going to feel great from it. And they've shown that in studies where they've had people do like, oh my gosh, like the McDonald's diet and the Twinkie diet, which is kind of, particularly a Twinkie diet, it's a lot of processed food. And if your energy balance and like so calorie intake is managed, you can lose weight on it. It's probably not the best strategy because you're going to feel horrendous doing it, lethargic, unsatiated. You're probably always going to be hungry, but you can eat it. You can lose weight on it. I don't know what your blood work is going to look like over time if there's not much nutrients and minerals going in. So again, it's one of those things like in moderation, you can have it in there. You can build it in even if you're trying to lose weight. But it's not one that's probably going to aid kind of weight loss much because it's just not that filling, and you'll probably won't feel that great after consuming it, whether it be bloating or lethargic. So yeah, I think ultra processed food, there's 2 camps of it. Like it's either if you're not sure, don't have it. If you do have it, you can have it in moderation. It's probably not going to listen, with all of this stuff, the devil's in the dose. Always. Like,
Okay.
right? Like it's, like I said, in research, they've shown that you can lose weight on this just consuming these foods. It's really freaking hard to do, but it's possible because it doesn't leave you feeling great and leaves you feeling unsatiated and full, but it's possible. So that does open up options to you if working with people who are, listen, generally the majority of people are trying to lose weight, like they'll manage their weight. It's the smaller population is trying to put on weight, other than guys who sometimes are maybe trying to put on muscle size. But the majority of people, especially we see, are there for kind of fat loss specifically. So if somebody's got a diet that's high in that to start with, going cold turkey on that is an approach, but that approach doesn't work for everyone. Like you'll lose them after a week. So having some of that still in the diet whilst working on some other things is maybe a strategy. But this is where it's so individualized again.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but
you can make it general, like there's no general sense regarding this.
Yeah, there's general principles, right? And
Right.
even around training, like there's general principles, but even then it needs to be kind of tweaked to match the person because you're working with humans, not robots.
So
Right?
true.
Right.
Going to training. What can you suggest people? What's your advice on the gym routine? Like, you know, workout routine. Let's say, like, how many times you think a person from 25 to 45 should train, if this is a good age range?
How often should they train?
Yeah, how often?
Per week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we like to get people training 4 times a week. I think 4 times is enough of a stimulus to kind of cause positive adaptation and change. Listen, if someone's done nothing, them just training once or twice a week, they're going to get change and adaptation from that. And actually, you're probably starting them off there just so they can get used to the new stress of training. But then as somebody kind of gets used to that, you're trying to build them up to do 3, 4 quality workouts a week. If someone's experienced at training, they can handle more. Then it comes down to how well can they recover from the workouts. How good's their sleep around it? How good's their nutrition around it? But I think gun to head, what's the magic number you're trying to get people around to? And it's 4 quality workouts a week. I think that's a sustainable amount that gives them enough time when they're not in the gym 3 days a week. And not even the gym, it might be whatever modality they're doing, right? But it needs to be over a week. I think you need to kind of stress the body in a positive way 4 times.
That's good. Whether it's like running or whatever you want to do, going to the gym, do free weight.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
still,
Be
like,
active every day. So move, like walk everywhere, wherever you can. And that's like,
I drive everywhere.
Yeah.
I drive everywhere. Sorry, guys.
But you're on your feet all day. So you drive to work,
Yeah.
go back to work, but you're standing all day.
True.
And that's a huge, a huge reason alongside your training, you're in shape. You're not carrying 50 pounds of excess body weight. Like it's the non-moving, non-standing is a huge driver of people's bodies falling apart.
And do you have this type of clients mostly? Office jobs?
Yeah, we got some, listen, I can think of people come to mind straight away who are incredibly adherent with the gym, but don't move much outside of that. They'll be in the gym 5 days a week, but their activity outside of the gym is really low. And it's a repeated conversation we have. It's like, listen, the gym is like, and it's not always the gym, it can be whatever training modality you're doing or sport. That's the real stimulus for change. But if you said to me, gym or walk all day, I'd say walk all day. That will probably keep you in check longer term, right? So if we can then get a balance of, okay, let's get you in the gym where we can work on improving your movement quality and your strength and your mobility, alongside kind of walking around that, and then you're golden, right?
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a common one because, yeah, like people do work and those desk jobs don't help, but
I mean, for example, my neighbor is always like, is working standing. I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, I've never worked on a computer in my life.
yeah,
I'm now working a bit on that, but you know, I can imagine like working 6 hours facing a screen, or 8 hours, whatever, standing. And also standing on the same place. For me, I feel like, man, I need to take something. I need to go out.
Yeah,
and just
move.
breathe some fresh air.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, it's I feel for people who are stuck in the office every single day. So I understand that probably going to the gym for them is like literally something they want to do. And
Sure.
when I hear people walking to work, like they literally like do 30, 40 minutes walking, I'm like, man, I would never do this, but I feel you. I understand.
Yeah.
You're sitting the whole day. You got to do that.
You have to find easy wins, and some people that's an easy win because they are walking around, they are sitting down all day. So yeah, walk to work, cycle to work. It's so unsexy. It's just the reality of what works. Right? Yeah.
Are we made to train? Are human beings made to train, to work out?
Are you made to train? The body's designed to be challenged and lift things and move for sure. It's just we don't do that much anymore. So do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, there was a big movement around like primal living. So kind of doing what we would have done, like our ancestors would have done, picking things up, moving stuff. And you just you don't do that. A lot of people don't do that day to day because, like you said, they're desk bound and working in offices and stuff. But yeah, the body's designed, the joints are designed to move, the muscles are designed to be exposed to load and moderate stress. And that, the positive effect from that is you keep joint health, you retain lean muscle, you improve body composition, you improve blood sugar level management, you improve insulin sensitivity, all these kind of effects, of lifting stuff, moving in general.
Mm.
So circulation, like so many things come from the body moving. So yeah, it's designed to move. It's designed to be in the gym. The gym is just a space where we can get people moving in a controlled way. It's designed to move under different stresses, controlled stress. Yeah,
that's definitely. I mean, if you want to picture yourself in the 1600s, people were still like stressing their body all the way possible, traveling miles and miles, probably walking miles and miles. Everybody but aristocrats were not. But you know, yeah, I agree with you. Like our body is made for training, is made to move.
Yeah, it's made to be challenged.
To be challenged in general.
Yeah.
Have you had any big challenge yourself during your career?
In what sense?
In the sense that you were like, you maybe had an injury, or you maybe had a moment where you were like, okay, this is my limit. I don't know how to give people more or give people what they're asking for.
Yeah, good question, man. Like, I've been fortunate. I haven't had any major injuries, other than the ones like when I was growing up playing football. Like I tore my ankle ligaments. That was probably the worst injury I've ever experienced. But yeah, listen, personally, the biggest challenge I've ever had was kind of juggling everything when I had a kid. Yeah. I mean, there's other challenges as well, but like that, always working for yourself, working with clients. So like same as you, right? I'm fully devoted to like clients. Like I train people any time of day, like weekends, everything. So overnight, that kind of has to change because you have a new responsibility. And so my wife was incredibly supportive around that, but it was a real thing which took me a while to kind of get my head around, especially like running your own businesses as well. Like when you get in on the weekends or evenings, it was like kind of catching up with stuff, doing admin and things like that. Then that stops because you're on child duty. So that was a tricky thing. I had my only child so far. So we had her last year and she's like 16 months now. So last year was kind of one of the craziest years I've ever had.
Was it?
Yeah. Opened 3 gyms, had the baby.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a wild year.
I remember you were all over the places, man.
All over the place.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Last year was a good year for your business. So remind us what you do. We know what you do, but what's your business about?
Yeah, I mean, I have a brand called Workshop. I have a brilliant business partner. We started the business 10 years ago. It's a private personal training business. We had the good fortune to start the business inside the Bulgari Hotel in London. And then the concept did incredibly well, which is when we then had the discussion with the group to kind of roll it out across all of their properties, and basically then developed the world's first luxury gym concept within a hotel group. So if you go to any of their properties, you'll find our gym facilities and gym concept there. And you'll have our coaches there that are trained in our kind of system. And basically the idea was that so when we had just the gym in London, we were getting customers coming from like other cities, and even having clients kind of travel. And so many times what would happen was clients would travel and then they didn't want to have to go through that process of explaining to a new coach or trainer where they're at in their program, their history of injuries, their likes, their dislikes. So you often saw that people sometimes just not do any training when they were traveling until they came back and they felt comfortable with our team again. So once I knew there was kind of scope to the hotel group that we had to have a partnership with were opening more properties, I always had this vision. I'd love it if clients could just seamlessly go between when they were going to Milan, when they were going to Tokyo, that their program could be seamlessly integrated and continued when on the road. And that was basic, because that kind of built them in, that ensured they had training consistency, which meant that they would get results, which meant they got results, they would refer friends and family. So that's kind of what the business was built off of.
So basically you had a vision, because, you know, you can imagine that 1 or 2 clients can follow you on this path. But, you know, in order to risk and open another, a second gym in a second country, in another country, is a big risk. So you need to trust your gut sometimes, is it?
Yeah, listen, I've got to be honest, it's relatively low risk. Where there was challenges was I thought you just replicate what you've done in London and roll that out in every other location, and it's all good. There's obviously huge different cultural differences across the world. There's language barriers, and especially what we do, there's such subtleties that you need to kind of teach coaches around working with people. It's sometimes really hard to communicate those subtleties. Culturally, language barrier, and just, like I said, some people are inherently caring, some people aren't. It doesn't make them bad coaches, but they're really skilled. So yeah, I naively just thought, yeah, of course, you just replicate what we've done here, like a franchise, and just roll it out and it will be gravy. So there's huge lessons, huge naivety, but at the same time developed a great concept and product, which then when you started seeing clients and customers kind of going between the different facilities and gyms, I mean, that was music to my ears. That was like exactly kind of what I wanted to develop, because fundamentally at the heart of that is caring about people, not only when they're with you, but how can I help and support them when they're not with us? Yeah.
Well,
that was one way.
Amazing. Yeah. So now currently how many gyms you have?
Right now 8. Yeah, right now 8 around the world.
All different countries?
We've got a couple in Italy, a couple in China, and then there's one in Bali, one in Tokyo, one in Paris, UK, one in London, and then yeah, let's see how it all evolves, man. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the whole concept's brilliant, and I'm surprised more and more hotel groups don't do it. I understand the challenges why they don't. A lot of hotels obviously don't trust external operators who aren't in the hotel world. Hotels are such a hospitality is such a crazy industry.
Is it?
Just from the level of customer service and the standards, particularly in the luxury setting, it's held to an even higher standard than anything else, which is a good thing. but it makes people who aren't in that world really hard to merge into that world. And,
so true.
Yeah.
Like you need to set yourself high standards, and also probably you may have, you know, some people that work for you, they are now working for you. When they applied, they weren't thinking about, wow, okay, now I need to behave that way. I'm a super skilled, you know, coach.
Yeah.
I don't know how to approach like a multimillionaire. I don't know, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, like that's kind of become our demographic because of the setting we're in. They're no different to anyone else. They're exactly the same. Yeah, of course. Yeah, they've just got a different bank balance. There's nothing different.
Do they act like, I don't know, I met some of them, but do they act like they have, you know, a bit of I don't know, a bit of spice in their life? They feel like they look down on you, or not on you, but on people. Do you feel they look down on people?
No, not nice people.
Yeah?
I know plenty of fucking, can I swear on this?
Yeah, of course, you do whatever you want.
I've met plenty of people whose bank balance isn't great and look down on people. Like your bank balance doesn't determine that. A nice person determines that. Like, yeah, and listen, like I said, I've met so many amazing people in our kind of facilities, some of the most kind of caring and kind and considerate people. No, I can you treat them exactly the same as anyone else. It's a service industry, right? Like there's definitely some people that have maybe some slightly higher expectations, but I like that. I like that. Listen, if I'm paying a premium, I would expect like a really quality service on every aspect. So that's not the stuff I find that's like tricky. It's
no, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the standard you need to give people. If you give premium price, they're expecting a premium service.
Yeah.
With all the mistakes that you can have. And then obviously when you go in a conversation, more like friendly conversation, everything changes, you know. As I said to you, I had clients who were like acting like, you know, super, and probably they were like at the right to in some other, in many reasons. But at the end of the day, when you meet people on a deeper level, you know, you get along with them, it doesn't really matter.
For sure.
But obviously, man, we are talking that you have people who literally travel the world and they join your gym everywhere in the world, which is something like, you know, on for regular people is quite difficult to
get your head
picture,
around,
you know,
yeah.
which is amazing, honestly, because there's not your business is the kind of business that you somebody else would never think about if you were not in that world. You know what I mean? Because it's something that you created, knowing that even this level of people have a need to train like normal people, but in a bigger world for them. Probably the world for them is smaller compared to ours.
Yeah.
For me, you know.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I've seen, I think it's a kind of what we've done in the hotel space is definitely like an untapped opportunity for trainers and coaches. I think more and more people should kind of replicate that kind of business model, and not even just in hotels, in kind of like luxury apartments and things. I think it's just an untapped thing.
As any gym, as any other hotel, propose you to open your gym in their hotel?
Yeah, I've had lots of inquiries over the years.
Yeah?
Yeah, they've seen what we've done off the back of our partnership with
But you wanted to stick with Bulgari?
We were growing so quickly, like it didn't make any sense with them. Like we didn't, listen, there's one thing right kind of we're looking at now. It's like it's all well and good having lots of outposts, but you've also got to make those outposts work. And that requires time and resources. And listen, sometimes it's a common thing I see. So I'm seeing this pattern so many times, like a lot of businesses and even principals around. I was saying this to somebody recently and they said it was the same thing with clothing. But I said, when you look at businesses sometimes, a lot of the time, businesses will get 80% of their revenue from 20% of part of their business portfolio or revenue streams. So do you then keep pursuing the other 80% that isn't kind of the other 80%, the other 20%? Like, do you, and even I was talking to a client about this and he was saying it's the same thing with your wardrobe. You often you'll wear 20% of your clothes that are in your wardrobe. Like you got an 80% you'll never even touch. So that principle of 80-20 keeps playing out in so many things since I was looking at kind of our setup recently. And it was like, it's fascinating how there's patterns in that and absolutely everything. Your nutrition, eating 80% of if you eat 80% of the time well, you got that freedom to have, like we're talking about, whether it's processed foods or less than ideal foods, 20% of the time, it's not going to make a big deal. The reality is probably a lot of people are the opposite. They're doing the good stuff 20% of the time. And the same in businesses, you're focusing on the 80% that's only bringing in 20% of your business. So it's just, this kind of weird how these kind of patterns keep playing out.
There's infinite patterns in the world, that's for sure. Just for the audience, would you say something to the people who want to start joining the gym and to start a business, to open their gym?
Oh man, I don't know where I sit. Here's the thing, right? Starting it, because that's a vision I think a lot of coaches have one day, is to have their own facility. The reality of that is you need to be prepared that your day-to-day is probably not going to be doing a lot of the stuff you really love about your job and industry, because then you turn into admin, people manager. And the reality of coaches and trainers by their nature is they are generally good at being with people or want to be in that people side of the business. That's why they're not doing a desk job. That's why they're not doing the more structured, organized job. So, I mean, I've had a lot of coaches reach out over the years and kind of helped kind of consult some coaches on what they want to do when they're kind of looking to do this. And it's like, find a way of having a facility which is the least risk as possible. Because the reality is, like, the space, you need the space, but are you ready to now be getting into kind of managing people, paying people, them turning up late, not turning up at all? Like, that's what you turn into. And the reality is, if coaches were honest, that's not what they want to do. So, and that will take up 60 to 80% of your time, and you'll be doing less and less coaching. So I would encourage coaches to kind of replicate kind of what we've done, in the sense of, like, find hotel spaces are great. I think they're an untapped source of partnerships and collaborations. There's so many luxury apartment buildings with gym facilities which are unmanned and unmanaged and have no life in them. I would encourage coaches to kind of partner up or approach them to see if they could manage and operate those facilities. These places have to have them. They just don't know how to bring them to life. And that's kind of the thing I've seen over and over again when we've expanded across the world. I've gone and kind of seen other facilities, other kind of luxury hotels. What have they got? What's their offering? And it's like, often great spaces, often kitted out with the latest and greatest, but no concept, no one managing it, just derived of life and any concept. So if I was starting out again, that's what I would do. And then, but at the same time, remind yourself, okay, what will your day-to-day be like if you are doing that? And I think I spoke to you about this. I remember, like,
oh yeah, I'll never forget this.
Yeah, I remember, like, it's a probably like the book I've recommended so many people over the years. It was and someone told me to read it just after we'd launched the business, and it was basically, it's a book called Small Giants, and it was by this guy called Bo Burlingham. It's a brilliant book, and it was basically talking about 10 different businesses from different industries. It was like restaurants, music industry, loads of different industries, and these businesses that had the opportunity to scale, go big, go large, take on investment, but they decided to stay small but great at what they do. And one of them, I've forgotten the chef, but it was a chef in New York, and I believe he had like Union Square Cafe or something, and he had like a couple of restaurants, and a hotel group approached him and wanted to roll his concept out across all these hotels, and he had like people wanting to invest in the business and things. And on paper, it all made sense. Like, great, like more outposts, more potential for revenue, more publicity, investment. So you got a degree of security. Yeah. But then the guy was like, he decided to kind of step back, review what he loved about his day. And he loved that his routine was he could drop his kids off at school in the morning, go to his favorite coffee shop, walk down to his cafe concept. I believe it was Union Square Cafe, which is like this brilliant cafe in Union Square in New York. And then he got to pick up his kids and go home, and he was content with that. And it was like, it was a real like, okay, there's value in that, because you are like, we all want to be successful, but success isn't always kind of wrapped up in more is better. Like, it can be small but great. And there's so many other ways of like making revenue and things which maybe don't require so much man management or so much travel in this incident. So yeah, interesting. I think I've told so many people to kind of check that book out, because it was just like, it's a little bit against the status quo of like kind of what most people kind of encourage and suggest and think we could go after. It doesn't always have to look like that, and it's fine. So yeah, kids changes that pretty quickly. It makes you.
Last year you were like, okay, I opened 3 gyms, and this year you were like, oh man, I need to relax a second. I need to slow down, because otherwise.
You need to make them work. You need to bring them to life. You need to figure out what's working, what's not. More isn't always better. And yeah, like you said, like kids makes you realize, okay, because they grow up so quickly. It's crazy. You don't have kids, do you? Yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. Not that you know about.
No.
That changes everything sometimes, and that's cool as well.
I appreciate your words. This is very important for business owners or for people who want to start something in their life, because they need to start with the right step, because otherwise, so no regrets at the end.
No, none. Like, I'm here. Like, you like. Why? There's no regrets. No, because I'm happy. Yeah, there's lessons in all of it.
That's great, man. So now we're gonna style your hair. Why don't you suggest a bit of soft wax?
Yeah,
if that's all right for you.
All good.
It went always the same. I chopped in a bit shorter. I didn't really check, how much you want. I've been cutting your hair for long enough to know what I have to do.
I didn't want it like that, man. No, it's all good.
We're gonna be using a bit of our soft wax. Yeah. Our Sharper Plus soft wax.
Nice.
Yeah. Not too much, just enough to give you a bit of texture. You keep them like always a bit up on the side.
Messy like my beard. Yeah.
Messy like your beard. Yeah. Perfetto.
Grazie mille.
Prego. Thank you very much, and I see you soon.
See you soon,
Always
mate.
keep on going, because you are your future.